So, hello and welcome to everyone joining. This is going to be my final live group meditation reading before I leave for retreat in a few hours. If you're watching this after we've already been live, go ahead and move the dial, move the time dial to the 10-minute mark, and that's when we will formally get started with a short reading followed by some guided meditation. Okay, so for the next 10 minutes, we'll just be giving people the opportunity to join in, and then we'll get started. All right. And if you're not already a member of our Discord server, please do consider joining. The link is in the description of this video, and that is our main community space where we practice together and support one another as a Sangha, as a community of practice. So I'll just be making some announcements in the Discord and making sure that the stream's working well and that everything is in a good way. Hey there, Vidura, and Your Positive Mind is here. Very cool. And when you come in, don't forget to say hello in the live chat so we can see that everyone is coming together. Hey, Luke. Hey, Francesca. Welcome. Is the stream all right? Is everything coming through clearly? Hey, what's cracking? And Daniel? Stream is good. Okay, great. Fung, Atlas, Francesca, everything's working perfectly. That's great. So we're not going to dilly-dally too much. We're going to get started in 5 minutes with the reading, right at the 10-minute mark. I was hoping the stream would be in 1080 or something, or higher quality, but I think the quality is good, right? So it's okay. So in 2 hours, just about, I'll be getting picked up by a devotee from another temple, and we'll be driving quite a few hours into New York for, I'll be coming back the night of the 17th to my temple. So maybe on the 18th is when we'll start to have group meetings and these kinds of practices again. Also, don't forget to like. Apparently that helps people find the stream. I don't know if that's true or not, but it couldn't hurt. Francesca, you just do your best. That's the intention, right? We do our very best and we go from there. As long as we have that sincere, compassionate intention, aspiration, then our practice is going to be in the right direction, right? Hey there, Brody. And as we work on following through with that compassionate aspiration, that skillful aspiration, that skillful intention, as we work on that and connect with that over time, we can apply ourselves even more deeply to that practice. You know, maybe in the future we will be able to do fasting or different things that we'd like to try and like to do. Hey there, Chesh. So ETA is less than 4 minutes, less than 4 minutes for our start time. We are going to begin in just a moment. Hey, Dominic and Keem. I think the Buddha loves and supports the LGBTQ community. I think the Buddha is an ally, a strong ally, a very sincere ally on the path. For everyone, especially for the LGBTQ community. That's what I think about that. Okay, we are going to get started any moment now. And just let me know in the live chat if there's any issues with the stream or anything comes up in that way. Just let me know and I'll try to take care of it if possible. Itself, please be patient. Okay, now it says I have an excellent connection, so we will see what happens, but we're going to try and get started with the reading, and hopefully any streaming issues won't be a barrier for us in doing that. So the reading that we're going to be looking at today, kind of a short reading before we get into some meditation, is on this topic, this idea of original nature and also emptiness or impermanence in Buddhist philosophy. And so the title of this book that we're reading from is Dependent Arising, Emptiness of Original Nature and Our Lives. And so this may sound a little bit complicated, but the way that it is presented here, I think is quite clear, quite direct, and shouldn't be too difficult for anyone to understand. And as we listen to these kinds of teachings, as we listen to wisdom that comes from a deep human experience of the nature of our mind, the nature of reality. It's very important to listen open-heartedly, to listen from our experience rather than from our intellectual, judging kind of mind. So let's begin with this reading that is a speech that was given by C.T. Shen at a meditation retreat. Dear friends, I want to begin my talk today with a very common technical term, H2O. Because by observing this H2O, and consequently observing energy, I developed a faith in what the Buddha has termed the dependent arising of phenomena and the emptiness of original nature. In revealing to you all the paths I have taken in the past, including the wrong ones, I could, perhaps, add some intimacy to our discourse. I remember when I was little, I learned to recite the Heart Sutra from my mother. The Heart Sutra is this text, this chant that's very common in Zen Buddhism that really embodies the overall approach and philosophy and perspective of Zen Buddhism as it deals with understanding our nature, the nature of our mind, the nature of our human experience. So I remember when I was little, I learned to recite the Heart Sutra from my mother, and was particularly fascinated by these 4 phrases. Form is not different from emptiness. Emptiness is not different from form. Form is emptiness. Emptiness is form. For their parallelism and smoothness. And these are taken directly from this Heart Sutra, and talks about or points to this concept in Buddhism that's very important of non-duality. So in a lot of other religions, there's a major emphasis on absolute good, absolute evil, on duality. There's a heaven and there's a hell. In Buddhism, we find something where there is this space or this openness where it is inclusive of heaven and hell. It is inclusive of, it accepts good and bad, but it is not defined absolutely by either of them. This kind of open, spacious awareness. And that is embodied by these 4 phrases, or represented by them. Form is not different from emptiness. Emptiness is not different from form. Form is emptiness. Emptiness is form. In those days, I took form and emptiness as 2 things, or 2 phenomena that are opposed to each other. I also remember that after I had learned algebra in school, I tried to write the 4 phrases into an algebraic formula. So A equals B, B equals A, that kind of thing. While my classmates were confused, I myself had enjoyed a sense of satisfaction. As I grew older, I somehow began to feel that by treating emptiness as a thing or phenomena, I had misinterpreted its meaning. Only after I had acquired some knowledge of Buddhism did I realize that in this world there are many, many things that are passing into and out of existence again and again. So we oftentimes are deeply focused in our lives on those things that come up. We notice them, we experience them, we kind of grab onto them, right? We have this very strong idea of this experience that I'm having right now. This content that is coming up, whether it be good or bad or pleasant or unpleasant. It's a very important approach and perspective in Buddhism that everything that arises passes away. That experiences, phenomena, thoughts, feelings, perceptions, ideas about ourselves, ideas about other people are constantly coming up and going away. And in meditation, which is, you can say Buddhism is a religion of meditation or a philosophy based on meditation, it is not our ideas or our concepts or our intellectual understanding of these terms, of these philosophical ideas, but it is our experience of them that allows us to really grasp and understand them. As I grew older, I somehow began to feel that by treating emptiness as a thing or phenomena, I had misinterpreted its meaning. Only after I had acquired some knowledge of Buddhism did I realize that in this world there are many, many things that are passing into and out of existence again and again. The continuous changes can even bear out a circular pattern, repeating acts of birth and death, or arising and ceasing, as if without an end. So most Western people, when we think about birth and death, we're usually thinking about, I was born, my story began, and I will die, my story ends. And maybe after you die, you have another story that kind of comes into place. In the Buddhist perspective of birth and death, we're more talking about a moment-to-moment arising and passing away. All about this arising and passing away, this coming into being and going out of being moment to moment. And whereas with birth and death, we often consider that only a character, right, can be born and then die. Only this human being or this entity, this being, can be born and die. When we think of it in terms of arising and passing away, anything can arise and pass away. Physical sensations, conditions, experiences, thoughts, beliefs, whatever it might be. The continuous changes in our existence can even bear out a circular pattern, repeating acts of birth and death or arising and ceasing, as if without an end. For example, when winter departs, spring arrives, and you see leaves budding and flowers blossoming on every tree. But before you will see the flowers start to wither and the leaves begin, but before long you will see the flowers start to wither and the leaves begin to fall. Then it strikes you that perhaps this is the so-called form is emptiness. Namely, when a tree is in full bloom, it also heralds the inevitability of decay. And this is also the so-called emptiness is form. Namely, when a tree is bare to its branches, emptiness, it also promises future abundance. So this is a really great analogy or a great way of talking about this. Form is emptiness and emptiness is form. It's very clear, it's very direct. So for example, when winter departs, spring arrives, and you see leaves budding and flowers blossoming on every tree. But before long, you will see the flowers start to wither and the leaves begin to fall. So whatever we experience, whatever comes into being for us at this moment or another moment, whatever comes up, whatever we experience, happiness, pleasure, pain, suffering, some idea about ourselves, some story, whatever comes up, when it comes up, we can know directly that it has within it the seed of its own cessation. So it's not permanent. Whatever we experience, don't try to hang on to it. Don't believe in it. Don't get caught up in it, because it has within it its own seed of cessation, its own seed of ending. Now, that's not to say that it doesn't exist. That's not to discourage you from taking responsibility for your experience, but it is to say, to understand, to have this degree of wisdom that what arises, what you experience, passes away. So if you get into this mindset or this approach of trying to hang on to it, trying to keep it, to hold on to that pleasure, to hold on to that nice thing that you like, or to get rid of that thing that you don't like, you're getting yourself wrapped up in a problem that you can't solve. Because we can't get what we want and get rid of what we don't want. Things come up and they go away. So seeing this changing of weather, seeing winter become spring, it may strike you that perhaps this is the so-called form is emptiness. Namely, when a tree is in full bloom, in form, it also heralds the inevitability of decay, emptiness. And this is also the so-called emptiness is form, namely, when a tree is bare to its branches, when a tree is empty, when our experience is empty, when we have nothing, that in itself also promises future abundance, form. Only after a long observation of the characteristics of H2O did I begin to acknowledge that this kind of perception had indeed no depth, and did not embrace a comprehensive definition of what the Bodhisattva Avalokiteshvara had taught in the Heart Sutra. What I am going to present to you today is the understanding I have attained one step beyond this stage. So understanding it on an intellectual level is one thing. Having the experience of it is a whole other. And when we get into the spiritual path, when we get into meditation, we want to understand Buddhism, we want to understand these concepts, it is to experience it. It is to take it a step beyond our intellectual understanding through practice, through looking, through intimacy, through exploration. My friends, you are all familiar with the natural phenomena of water. Under ordinary conditions, human beings' five senses, eyes, ears, nose, tongue, and body, as well as consciousness, including all mental activities, will detect water as a kind of liquid. When external conditions change, so will the liquid water. In Buddhism, the factor upon which the change in a phenomena depends is called the cause and condition, or simply the condition. For instance, when the external temperature drops to 0 degrees Celsius, or for our American friends here, 32 degrees Fahrenheit, it is because of this condition that the liquid water freezes and becomes solid ice. Or when the temperature rises to boiling point, it is because of this condition that the liquid water becomes a gaseous vapor. When it ascends to a certain height and encounters a sudden chill, the gaseous vapor will condense itself into tiny crystalline flakes, which we call snow. Or as a poet once described it, it is as if the jade dragons are scuffling when the white, scale-like snow tumbles from the sky. Sometimes vapor can also freeze into small pieces of solid ice which fall as hailstones. Obviously, all these things detected by people's five senses and consciousness, such as water, ice, vapor, snow, hailstone or cloud, fog, dew, frost, and so forth, are subject to change when external conditions change. None is permanent, nor is meant to be. In other words, all of them undergo birth and death and change constantly from one form into another. Ever since life began, natural phenomena have been like this. And so this not only applies to ice and to water and its change, but it also applies to ourselves. It also applies to our human experience, where our life, our being right now, is totally dependent upon conditions. The fact that the sun is shining brightly, keeping this body warm. The condition of the body to maintain itself, to have and to be in a state of homeostasis. All of this is what allows us to be in this current embodiment. And we are usually in the mind that who or what we are right now is some kind of fixed, constant entity. But in reality, what we are now is causes and conditions that have come together for this particular embodiment to be here, to be happening, for this ice to be here. So ever since life began, natural phenomena have been like this. And this is the world we live in, a constantly changing world where phenomena arise depending on conditions. However, since we are accustomed to it, our thoughts and behavior have become inseparable from the phenomena of the changing and impermanent world. I am like that. You are no exceptions. This is why Buddhism gives only one answer to all inquiries concerning the myriad of worldly phenomena. The Buddha refers to all worldly phenomena as dependent arising. So rather than there being these fixed self-entities, these beings, these characters in their own story, from a Buddhist perspective, this is all dependent arising. Causes and conditions have come together for this body to be arising at this present moment. So the Buddha refers to all worldly phenomena as dependent arising, causes and conditions coming together. That's why this situation is arising. But in my high school chemistry classroom, I learned one day from the teacher that the chemical expression for water is H2O, that for ice and vapor is H2O, and that for cloud, fog, dew, or frost is also H2O. This scientific knowledge helped me in the development of a new concept. I understood then that although the forms of water, ice, snow, as our senses and consciousness have observed, are impermanent, still there exists a common thing, H2O. That is our original nature. Dream is 4 is through the YouTube. Hopefully these will get resolved. If we are back online, just let me know and we'll continue. So it does look like we're back at the present moment after everyone has, well, are we back or not? It's impermanent. So it does look to be a little bit improved, maybe.